Yeah, so the big thing with the Fed is going to be what do they say with the new variant, this Omicron variant? What do they say about tapering? So are they going to keep with the tapering that they set before? Are they going to be more aggressive even in light of the new variant? Or are they going to pull back a little bit and say, hey, we may go slower? I'm wagering that they'll probably stay the course, meaning that they'll stay the same in terms of the amount that they already announced they would taper. And they might leave the door open to increasing the taper, the quickness of the tapering going forward. So I think that's the big thing. That's going to affect the 10-year yield. And then that will ultimately affect metals, stocks, pretty much everything else out there.
Right. First on the list is going to be gold. I wondered if we could take a look at the chart for gold right now, and maybe you can remind us about your prediction for 2022. Where do you think the price is going to be going next year?
Yeah, so one of the things I continue to like about gold is that it's not doing anything. Now, a lot of people have pointed out that, oh, gold's not doing anything, it's done, no one wants to own it, everyone wants cryptocurrency. I look at this chart on gold and I just love the consolidation. So, again, you've had this massive move up in gold starting in 2018 all the way up to the highs in late 2020. What gold has done since is really just go sideways to slightly lower. That's known in the technical analysis world as bullish consolidation. All right. And basically use the analogy of a marathon runner, right? So here was a marathon and gold was running that marathon all the way up. And then it got to the end and it can't run another marathon right away. I mean, it's too much energy needed. So what it needs to do is just take a rest, refuel, consolidate here. And then once it breaks out, and I'm watching this trend line right here, notice this pivot high to this pivot high. And recently we attacked this pivot high and then pulled back. If this line gives way, which I do expect it to, you should see a move up very quickly to this 2020 high, which is around $2,065. And then eventually higher. I think, again, by the end of 2022, you could even see as high as $3,000 an ounce. So again, with the chart, even though it hasn't done anything, that's almost ideal as a technician because it's just refueling. It's not pulling back so much to cause concern. It's just really pausing here. And that's a good thing, believe it or not, for the chart.
Yeah, that's very reassuring and looking forward to 2022. I know a lot of people are going to be excited about that potential for 3,000, but let's also maybe take a look at what the downside could be for gold next year. How low could it go? Just so we're prepared. I know there was some disappointment this year.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things I follow here on the gold chart, and then that's really smart to do. You always want to know your downside potential. And here, I just want to show this. So this is kind of a parallel line here that's drawn with this line. Notice this one's being parallel. So your downside risk is probably in the low 1600s here. All right. So that would be kind of a little bit of an L level that I'd be monitoring. And as long as, you could come down there, and that's still, in all fairness, that's about $175 of downside. So there is some downside risk. Again, the fact that gold has held up so well gives me optimism that it won't ever get down there. But in a bearish case scenario, let's just say, all of a sudden inflation isn't such a big boogeyman and we can see it coming down significantly, that would be your downside level. But I always go back to the fact that, like we talked about just a little while ago, the Fed is somewhat in a box, right? Interest rates can't go too high because of the US debt. So they're going to have to keep them under wraps. The next black swan event comes along, whether it's a bear market or a recession or something like that, they're going to have to come out with some sort of stimulus. So there's, in the longer term, if you're looking 3-5 years out, it's inevitable they're going to have to print more money. And there's been so much money printed that at some point gold has to react to the positive side. So whether it's in the short term that it dips a little bit more, I'm still looking at it for myself as an investor as just buying the dips. I just slowly accumulate, keeping it at about a 10% position in my portfolio.
Perfect. Okay. I think that's a good reminder of your thoughts on gold. Of course, we have to take it over to silver right now. I remember earlier this year, you were feeling a little bit lukewarm. Last time we spoke, maybe feeling a little bit more positive. So silver in 2022, what are your thoughts? Maybe we can go for that kind of upside downside look at the metal.
Yeah, so here's your little wedge pattern on silver, this chart of silver. You can see it's been holding here, it hit here, then it came in, kind of kissed that line there. Again, here it pierced, and now we're right back to that same kind of level of support. So as long as this level holds, which is around $22, silver's in decent shape short term. And then you want to watch to see if it goes and attacks this trend line here. Notice the high pivot, here, and then it kissed it right here as well. And that's around $28 or just sub 28, maybe $27.80. So right now you've been trading in this range for a long time. As long as it holds this line, you're in good shape for a longer term breakout. If by chance you break below this line, there is some downside, and you could see it right here, right? So there's a big kind of level right here around $18.75 to $19. And that to me would be your major support right there. So again, if this line breaks, you have a little bit of a hop, skip, and a jump down to about $19. But I honestly am still in the camp that use it as buying opportunities. Again, silver, because it's an industrial metal, can be a little bit more volatile if the economy slows down or if the world economy slows down. But longer term, that printing of money should have a net positive effect on silver, even if it dips in the short term.
Yeah, definitely a great point. And just for silver, I want to touch on one more thing. We always hear about that level around $30. If silver can get through it, then it can potentially rocket higher. Do you think that's something we see in 2022? What are your thoughts there?
I actually do think so. I mean, again, it kind of goes along with my projections for gold. So it'd be somewhat unusual to see gold go to close to 3,000 an ounce and then not see silver at least break $30. And again, I liken it back. If you go back on the weekly chart of silver and you go back to 2008, 2009, and so forth. Let me show that chart. You had this kind of rocket ship effect. And I just want to show what happened here is that, let me get my trend channel out here. So what you can see right here, right? Going back to, again, this is 2008. Notice how it kept on, it kind of bubbled down, hammered, came down, hammered, and then look at when it broke out, the rocket ship it had. It went basically from, I don't know, what was that, $19, $20, all the way up to almost $50. And that's kind of what I'm expecting over here. You're hammering. And again, if you hammer, at some point you break out, and you could have that same rocket type effect all the way to $50 on silver. Now, again, I don't know if that happens in 2022, but the point is you look for the breakout. When the breakout occurs, that's when you should get a supercharged move up on silver. How high it goes, I'm not 100% sure. But again, it should be a very successful trade to the upside.
Heading into 2022, what is your best advice for investors?
Oh boy. So I think you need, with the Fed saying that they're going to taper, I think you need to be a little bit more cautious on the markets. Again, it's hard to say that when the markets do nothing but pull back and then go to new all-time highs. But again, be careful because the Fed has now given you the, hey, we are actually removing money from the system at this point. Instead of pumping 120 billion, they're reducing it, I think, by 15 billion a month. Over the course of the next year, that is going to be $1.5 trillion taken out of the system on a monthly or on a yearly basis. There has to be some impact to the market because of that. So that's the big change going into 2022. You do need to be aware of that. Doesn't mean we can't make new all-time highs, but I'm certainly more looking for pullbacks and steeper pullbacks and more volatility because of it versus 2021.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.